What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and we back with the Saturday Night Sit Down. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Fab, Freddie Fox, America's Big Brother, and today I got the honor of sitting down with artist, producer, TV host, motivational speaker, and all of the above, Mr. June Archer. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, big bro? How you doing?
I am blessed, man. I am blessed. I'm like I've been telling you all week, man. I'm so excited to have you here. It's just, having these conversations and get people like you on my show is just giving me more affirmation and I've taken it as God letting me know that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing. So again, I can't tell you how much this means to me. I appreciate you and everything you've done, man. So let's get this started, man. You ready?
Let's go. Let's go.
So the whole concept, right, and it's crazy because I'm actually coming up on a year of doing this podcast, which is just
Congratulations.
thank
Congratulations.
you, man. March 21st would officially be one full year I've been doing this, and it's just been getting bigger and bigger and just touching more and more people as every week goes by. And the whole reason why I started this, right, is that I growing up, as you know, in our community, we have a bad rep when it comes to our dads being in our lives. A lot of my friends, their fathers weren't in their life for one reason or the other. And I started to see the impact of what that had on them. And you see that around the neighborhood and other kids who don't have real positive male role models in their lives. They start to gravitate towards the street or other negative ways to kind of learn to kind of grow up to be an adult. And by sitting down with men like you and sharing your knowledge and your experience, I hope to give them some people to look up to, positive role models they can latch on to, and connect them with people who are doing great things in their lives to show them that they can do the same thing and that there are good guys out there. So again, it is really, really great having you here.
Oh man, it's a pleasure, and I think what you're doing is very commendable. As I see people stepping into the room, my brother Kevin Henry, Dorothy Toran, there's a bunch of fathers that I know that are on here. So shout out to them for even tuning in and checking this out. So let's talk on it, man. Let's dive in.
Definitely, man. Thank you all guys for joining. So my first question to all the guys here, right, is, if you had to think about it, what do you think are some of the main characteristics or qualities it takes to make a good man or a good person?
What are the qualities? I think starting with knowing yourself, right? And it takes a while to know who you are and whose you are. And I think when you lead with integrity, you lead with some type of humility. I think that is the foundation, right? And being a man of your word sets the foundation and the tone for the characteristics that you need to be a great man and a great father, a great spouse. So I think starting with that foundationally is super important.
I totally agree with you. I mean, finding yourself is a lot harder done, than people think. And a lot of people are intimidated to take that step. And I know for myself, it took me quite a while because growing up, like I always, consider myself to be a chameleon. I was able to, find people and kind of adapt and change to fit that situation that I was in. But a lot of times it wasn't really who I wanted to be, or who I was comfortable with. And doing that over the years so often and so many times, I started to lose myself. And then I started, as we got older and, your friends and people kind of, go off into their own avenues, they have things to do, you kind of left by yourself to really sit and think. And I found myself asking myself, like, why am I doing this? Do I even like this? Is it who I am? Am I happy? Is it because of that situation? And really starting asking myself those questions. And that's really what led me to doing this and this enlightenment and trying to really find myself and growing comfortable with who I am as a person and what I like to do and not feeling all that judgment from outside and having to alter that. And also too with social media, it's like it's the pros and the cons, right? Because in Instagram, we see a lot of people's, like they say, their highlight reels, right? Their high
Mm-hmm.
moments in their lives, and you start to compare yourself to those situations when it's not always, peaches and cream, as we would say. And you really have to, you start to doubt yourself. And then the other side to that, though, is that what I've also found is that you're connected to so many people. So, the people around you may not like one part of you or something that you're into, but you can just hop on Facebook or Instagram and type in a search and find so many people who are like-minded in that area. And you can find your home, what I mean, your village, as one would say, you could help and grow and help you, and grow in those areas. So, it's very mindful, like you said, that really understanding and knowing yourself. I think we really need to take time to ask ourselves those questions, like who I am and what I like to do and what makes me tick, to help you understand how to be a great person. And also that too, a lot of guys have said the same thing, integrity is very important. You said to be a man of your word, and what you say you're gonna do and follow through on that, especially with kids, because we all seen that too with a lot of guys that I sat down who dads weren't around. They always got that, yeah, dad's gonna come pick you up this weekend. I'm gonna be there to come see you. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna go here and all those things. And they never show up, and that is traumatizing. I mean, as I said last week, even and I watched it over and over again, the clip in Fresh Prince of Bel Air when his dad came and he left him there. And that whole scene that he had with Uncle, how moving. Like I can't watch that without, tearing up a little bit because it's so emotional and it's the facts. So those are two great points, man. So I'm glad that you're speaking on that. And also when it comes to being a great person or a great man and growing up in these life, one has to have very strong morals and things that they, live by on a day-to-day basis. So for you, what are some of your key morals that you live by on a day-to-day basis?
I think it goes back to just one, being a man of your word and being true to who you are, not having to fake the funk, right? When I look back over my journey, I've always been the same person. Anybody you may come across that has known me from day one, and when I say day one, I'm literally talking about some of my people that have known me since kindergarten, first grade, through high school, through college, through my years of being in the music and entertainment business. I've always remained the same person because I've always led with humanity and treating people how I wanted to be treated and just treating them with love and always leading with love. So that's who I've always been, man. And it's not hard to navigate this life if you remain constant in that, if that makes sense. Right? When you feel like you got to change and conform to different people or situations, then you're not being your true authentic self. And for me, as I walk the earth now, I'm walking in my dopeness, walking in my greatness because I can, because of who I've always been. And so now it's like, all right, well, you know what? There's a couple of things that you don't take with you when you try to level up,
Hmm.
right? And you realize everybody can't come, right? And that's no slight to anybody else, but when you level up, yeah, Craig and them can't come with you. Sometimes mom and them got to take a back seat because you're getting ready to level up. And sometimes those things don't really work. They don't fit, right? And what does that mean? That means um, things that may be a good look for someone else because they're kicking it with you may not be a great look for you. So you have to make sure that you know what rooms you can continue to step in and out of, who you can, shake hands and kiss babies with, what elbows you can rub with certain people, and realize you got to have a cap on certain things. Money shouldn't move you. Um, Never make a decision on a hungry belly, right? But staying true to who you are, and that's kind of how I lead and live my life.
No, and I totally understand where you're coming from as far as because that's why I felt like the challenges for myself was growing up, trying to fit in all these things and really led me to a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of unhappiness because I wasn't being my true self, or wasn't being able comfortable to do that. So, as I started to learn and really ask myself those questions and understand, like it's been so much better, such a relief that you can just, be you and just walk out there and not really have to worry about what's going on there, try to impress anybody, as long as you're comfortable with yourself. And the more I've started to do that, the more I've seen again the ability to level up and making new connections with new people and the right people that need to fit in with me. And also, like you said, too, starting to understand and learn. Because me and my best friend, we were literally just talking about this few elbows with, about who we can rub elbows with, and, shake hands and kiss babies. Literally the exact same term we were talking about that earlier today. So it's just funny that it comes up here, but it's true. Great minds think alike, right? And it's nothing like I said to your childhood friends and stuff like that about when you're growing up and changing. You got to evolve, and you can't let those things hold you back or again lead you in the right thing, because again what you want as in your life to be successful is not the same thing as all the people around you know what I
Right,
mean?
but
And
here's the thing. Here's the thing too. You have to kind of instill have some absolutes, right? For
hmm
people who are watching tonight, have some absolutes. What does that mean? If you're going to make decisions on when to level up or when to make a lateral move, or people that are offering you things as you level up, install some absolutes in there. Like, I absolutely won't do this just because you offer me this. Or I absolutely, if I take this opportunity, these are the things I have to have, or these are the things that I need in order to continue to grow and develop. Or these are the people that I want and need around me. So make sure that you always have absolutes in place for every situation that you encounter. That is how you continue to be who you are, and it depends on who's in your village and who's in what I call your winner circle. So when you have that circle, there's certain things that I just can't bring myself to do because I'm always in fear of the people who know me, who will be honest with me, will say, "Man, June, that wasn't a good look.
Hmm.
Um, nah, I don't even like how you're moving in that space, or I don't even like how you're talking." Because these are the people that know, like, it is an embarrassment, not to them, but to yourself, that you're
Right.
acting like this, because you know you have to face them at some point. And you're
Hmm.
like, man, I don't want to let these people down. I don't want to disappoint these people. So make sure that you have those people in your circle that are not yes men or yes women, that will allow you to grow and develop. Even when you level up, they'll never tell you that you changed. They'll just tell you that they've seen your growth and development and how you're making moves. Those are the people that that you want around you.
Yeah, and like you said, when you find them, you definitely got to hold on to them. I'm glad, like I said, my boy that I was with today, like that's my brother, man. Yeah, I've known him since the first grade, and that's one of the beauty about our relationships is that we are definitely moving in things that we want to do in life, but when we come together and we talk, it's always keeping it real and honest with each other. Like you said, what I mean, like here's what I think you should, here's what I think happened with you, or or here's how that made me feel and seem because they know you, who you are at your core, and I like with him it's why again he's been my brother for so many years is because I'm completely open with him and honest. So he's seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and all those things in between. So he knows exactly who I am at my core. So when things are off like that, he's quick to be like, "Yo, listen, get back in line, step correct. Like that's not who you are. That's not what you're about." And it's great to have that support because I've always wanted a brother. Like I said, growing up, and I do have a brother. He's my half brother, but he lived in Puerto Rico with his mom, so we didn't really get to spend that time with each other. So having him in my life that's the important male bond connection that you have somebody that's similar and really helping you and wanting that's best for you. And my dad being here was great, but he wasn't as hands on. He was in the home, and I kind of had to watch his moves to learn. And then when I got older, we started having those conversations. And as I got older, we started really having a better bond and a bigger connection. So he has a very important part of my life. And for you, with your dad, what was your relationship with your father like?
Well, my dad is an immigrant from Jamaica, and anyone who has a West Indian parent, especially a dad, you understand that they don't do a lot of talking. They their expression of love and everything comes from action, right? So you learn hard work, dedication, wanting to go out and get it by just seeing him do it day in and day out, tirelessly, endlessly. So we never had those conversations growing up. I just saw his examples. It is now as he's getting older that we have these talks, but it's more so me pouring in about what I'm doing, what I plan on doing, and him just kind of, you know, shooting a gem here and there. But the conversation is it's still the same. It's not they just West Indian parents. They came here, work hard, take the opportunity,
Hmm.
and create a family, give your kids the opportunity, and that's kind of what I learned. But Jamaican men, at least the old school, uh, they didn't talk much, bro. They you had a good time with them,
Hmm.
and you learn some things. You learn how to become a man, but they kind of led with by example, and that was my dad and my uncles and my play uncles. Like that's what you learn. But it's always best to learn by example because guess what? When your children see what you do, they see it way before they hear it.
Hmm.
You could tell them till you're blue in the face, right? But the motto to me is 100% honest. I could show you better than I could tell you
Yeah.
all the time, right? I could tell you how great I am, bro. But if you see me in my greatness, you see me walking in my dopeness, you see me doing what I do, making my magic happen, you're gonna be like, wow, like he talks the talk, he walks the walk. If I tell you I'm a man of my word, right, it's one thing than to show you that I'm a man of my word. And then that's where you actually will see how much integrity and how much of my word is bond by seeing through my actions.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like I said, my dad wasn't, we had, emotional conversations here and there, but I've learned a lot by watching. Like three of the things that really stick out to me from my dad is, number one is, growing up, my dad was always I guess you say like a recluse, you know what I mean? Like he was always up in his room. He didn't really socialize with a lot of people like that. When he did, he had a good time and he was able to, lighten up and have his moments. But it was very limited, So it was we always joke around, but if my dad were to like show up or leave the house or go somewhere, like it's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like it's a miracle, you know what I mean? And people started looking at it like, oh, he's antisocial, or he's this and that, and kind of planning these things. But as I started growing older and understanding is that what I really understood from my dad by doing that is that he knew that not everybody was worth his time.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
And that's true. And when you know that, you know exactly when. I just said it earlier. You
Yeah.
know which rooms to step into, and you know which rooms to intentionally step into and then step out. Right? There's plenty of
Hmm.
events that I've been to, being in the music and television business, and you're like, yo, I'm gonna go to this event, shake hands, kiss babies, or be intentional who I need to meet. You kind of navigate the room you see, and you're out. Like I don't need to be here all night. Like just really not my crowd. I
Hmm.
came here to make a connection, a bond, solidify a relationship, and then you keep it moving, right? But it seems to me that your father was like he knew a couple of things. When you see crazy cross the street,
Yeah.
um, also this may not be my cup of tea, and I know who I am, and I don't have to always be in each room just because, right? And when you have that, you know, it goes back to what we just talked about, is knowing who you are, right? And whose you are, right? So when you know, listen, nah, this is not my thing. Like I'm cool. Like you don't have to be in every room. You don't have to be in every party, every club, every
Absolutely.
every circle. You can navigate it as it benefits you, or only when you see that you could be a benefit to the situation,
Hmm.
right? So kudos to your dad. Like he knew like I know my place, and not in a negative way. Like,
Right.
nah,
Right.
I'm cool. I'm gonna be home with my family. Just family time. I'm just gonna be chilling. Like he could be up in his room reading, writing a book. He could be whatever. That's on him because he realized you have to be very protective of your energy and your
Hmm.
space, right? And those negative things latch on to you. The devil's always hard at work. So if you're out there and you're carrying on with folks and you're taking on certain energies, that wears on you, bro.
Hmm.
That that does something to you. Sometimes you don't immediately see it, but you're like, man, why do I feel so negative? Why do I feel so right? So when you go into a room, it's all positive. It's like, oh, it's great. But what about when the snake's in the room and the devil's trying to get at you? And oh man, listen, oh he got this is 1 year anniversary of his show, man, whatever. Well, that's a huge thing. But now you're taking like, man, well, it's only got a year, and oh, but this person got 10 years in the game, it's 15, and you feel like, man, I didn't really need that energy. Like a year is a big thing, right? Because guess
Absolutely.
what? There are people who talk about doing a podcast for the show, talk about doing what you're doing right now, and they never get it off the ground.
Hmm.
All right. So the mere fact that you got 1 year under your belt, guess what? I invite you to continue to keep going. The next time we talk, it's going to be 2 years, and 2 years after that, it's going to be 5 years. Don't ever stop, but keep your horse blinders on and understanding you got to kind of navigate and move, stick and move to keep away from these energies. I think that's what your dad was doing. He kind of knew, I
Yeah.
know when I need to go out. I know when I need to poke my head in, double dutch, and do all these things.
Yeah, no, and like I said, that was one of the three key things that he showed me, which I was so proud that I was able to pick up and learn that, and being open minded enough to try to understand that, because a lot of people would just shut him out. Like I said, a lot of people was like, oh, he's antisocial and just moved it on. But why is he doing that? Like I was always questioning and trying to understand. So when I realized that, I was like, you know what, that's how I got to be in my life, So that was one of the key things. The other thing is that my dad, being the way he is too, like he will literally give you the shirt off his back. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
he was such a giving person to the people that it mattered to. Because again, like he
right.
understood where circles are and where to go and how much to extend himself. And then, also too, I've seen him many times where he may have overextended himself, but he saw what he did and he corrected himself. And then I seen him move in the opposite direction. So it was really again just watching him and understanding. So that again, like being a kind and giving person, and one of the things that it's just about like being kind, but growing up, I lived in a little cul-de-sac, right? And there was about 12 houses connected, all by like the same walkway. So in the winter, I would notice my dad would be shoveling, from the neighbor across from us all the way to the front to the parking lot, and he would shovel the whole way. And I've seen him doing this for quite some time and all these things. And then one day I'm like, Dad, why are you going on lecture? Like, why are you plowing all this stuff? And he looked at me and said, listen, you and I both know that she has a lot of medical issues. And the
Mm.
EMS and all the people are always coming over here 24/7 for her. Now, what happens if there's an emergency? How are they going to get to her? How's she going to get out? And I was like, damn. The very next snowstorm, I went out with all my boys and we shoveled everybody's drive. When we do, and I do this to this day. Like where I live right now, it's a three-family home. When it starts to snow, from upstairs all the way, I shovel everything, I clear everything and stuff like that because I think about what my dad said. If there's an emergency, how are these people gonna get
How
out?
did, right.
You
That's
know,
dope.
so that those are things that I've learned watching my dad, understanding now. Like you said, your dad wasn't much of a talker. You like watched him a lot. What is something that you think that you really learned from him and you take away from him?
One of the key things I learned from him was how he made people feel uh, in their presence and also in their absence. He is a very giving person. Just like you said, your dad give shirt off his back. My dad was the same way, but what I learned from him early, and this is a credit to him and my mom, one of the things that they instilled in me and my brother was to learn how to live good with people, right? What does that mean? That means when you come across someone, I don't care if they're at the front desk, if they're mopping, if they're executive, if they're executive assistant, if they're the CEO, you treat everybody the same because you never know when that individual is going to level up and you may have to work with or answer to that individual. So for me, it was learning from my dad was just, man, I love the way when when he walks in a room, he lights up the room, people navigate towards him. And for me, it was how do you do that? Like why does that happen? Because everybody sees you, they're like, man, that's such and such, and this is my interaction with him, and he's done this. And you're not doing it because you want people to give you the accolades. But one of the things I learned was when it's all said and done, bro, when it's all said and done, you want to leave a legacy that when you are being laid to rest and your wife and your children happen to be in the front row, that people, when they procession and walk across and see your casket and say their last goodbyes, that they walk by your family and they don't talk about, oh man, let me tell you how much money your dad had or the nice cars he had or how he dressed fly. I want my children, my wife to hear, man, your dad was an amazing person and he was a blessing to me. Like, that's what you want to hear. All these other things don't matter. The car, the house, the clothes, all of those things are a means to an end. And what does that end? That means, man, you remember that car that we had? You know, when I first got it, we would drive to New York and we go to the 125th Fish House and we go to the Apollo Theater. It's the memories that you create with those things,
Right,
right?
right.
They give you, but those things are just that things. They're not gonna make you happy. They're not gonna make you happy. How did you make people feel at the end of the day, and what will they say about how you made them feel when that last day to talk about how you made a mark? How's that going? And that's what you want.
And I believe that wholeheartedly, man. Like my what I tell everybody, and something that motivates me on a day in day out basis is, I have the biggest fear of being forgotten. Right? Like I
Mm.
don't want to walk through this life and not leave an impact on somebody, or anything. So that was like again part of the birth of this podcast, and having kids of my own to help them continue that legacy of being kind to people, being caring, being loving. Because I believe that too, man. The only way we're going to be able to change this world is by giving everybody love. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what people are going through, the hardships, the pain, and it's so surprising to me, and I feel happy and sad at the same time when I do a kind gesture for somebody and they're taken back, like, wait, what? Like, because you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's an oddity to be nice nowadays. You know what I mean? Like it's such a rarity. And like you were saying about like the incident means, like I was talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and he said something to me that again also stuck out. He was like, when we die on our tombstone, it has an end date and a start date. But the only thing that people are gonna talk about is that dash, the thing in between, what happened. And I was like, wow, like because it's true. And that's what, like I said, I learned so much. My idols is like that: Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa. These people who were just caring and giving and wanting to see their fellow man do good. That is one of my biggest things. If I can help somebody else succeed in something or reach a goal or face a fear, overcome something, that's where I feel, my happiest. Everybody looks at me, and there was days too growing up where like I said this with my friends, is that I wouldn't answer my phone to nobody. You know what I mean? Like I would just take this day, I'll go out by myself, get in my car, just drive around and just do random good deeds for people. Just, you know what I mean? A little kid in the store trying to buy some snacks. I mean, I buy you snacks. Put that in your piggy bank. You know what I mean? Like, you need it here, take this. You know what I mean? Like, or a kind word, sitting down and have a conversation with a stranger at the park, because they're sitting there by lonely. And how much that meant to them. And I always said I always do it for two reasons, well, I always did it for selfish reasons because it made me feel so good, knowing that I brought this person a little bit of joy, that I made them
Mm-hmm.
smile today, and they can carry that on and then pass it to the next person. So that is, well, like I said, for me, my biggest motivation is living a life and being forgotten is my biggest fear, and that's what I want to teach my kids, is how to be kind, how to be loving, how to be unique and caring individuals to the world, because the more, like I said, the more people we have with love and giving genuine love out is how we're going to change these things. Now, for you, do you have any kids, June?
Yeah, I have two young kids.
So,
Yeah.
what is something that for you is important that you are constantly trying to instill in them as they're growing up?
A few things, and it's no different than what my parents do. Like when you navigate this world and you meet people, one, if you're shaking their hand, look them in the eye,
Mm,
right? When you have the opportunity to tell somebody that you care about them, tell them that you love them because it may be the last opportunity that you have to do so. And when you treat people the way you want to be treated, you never have to watch your back. You never have to worry about losing sleep. You never have to worry about who's going to do what to you or say something to you because guess what? You've always treated people right, right?
mm,
You've always led with grace. You've always led with mercy. Exactly, Dorothy. Um, so when you do those things, it comes back a hundredfold, right? But here's the piece that I want to share, and I hope people get this. We're a brand. Everybody is a brand, right? And depending on where you are in the journey, you represent more than one brand, right? So when I step out of this house, uh, the brand is Archer, yes. However, the brand is also, if someone sees me and they say, man, are you such and such a son? I'm part of that brand. Are you such and such's grandson? That's another brand, right? Are you such and such's father? Are you such and such's husband? That's five different brands, and you have to represent each brand respectively. So when
mm,
you walk out that door, yeah, I'm June Archer, and that's a brand in of itself, but you're connected to all these brands that you have to make sure that you represent them to the fullest. Because the worst thing that can happen is another conversation happens. They go, oh, isn't that what you call son? Yeah, he acting crazy. Oh, did you hear him cussing and carrying on? Oh, is that what's his face's father? Oh, I know that's not her husband. Oh, he out in these streets acting crazy. Those are different brands. So if you misrepresent the brand, what does that say about your character and your integrity?
absolutely.
Right? So you have to walk with purpose and you got to walk intentionally, So I always teach them when you leave here, you are your individual self, but you represent the brand. Don't disrespect the brand. Ever disrespect the brand. And we're not perfect, but when you go out, try to be intentional. Try
Hmm.
to treat people the way you want to be treated. It'll come back a hundredfold. And if it doesn't, you're not doing it because of that. But you will be blessed exponentially at some point when you probably least realize it.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. A lot of guys. One of the first times I heard that, I was doing an interview. One of my friends, his name is Samuel Singletary, right? And I asked him these questions about things that are important to him, and one of the first things he said was my name. My name
Mm,
means so much to me, and because of those reasons, like you said, it's so powerful. That's people connect you to who you are and your family, your heritage, your background, and the type of person that you're gonna be. I watch a show a lot of times. It's called Red Dwarf. It's a British show, but like they say, one of the guys' name is Arnold Judah Schwimmer. And he's just like so sly, and he's just like always looking out for himself, and they play a lot on the name Judas, and that's what you're saying. Like it's a brand, it's a name, right? People hear that, and that's what they so automatically. You know what I mean? They don't know you as a person. They hear the name, they already start making pre-assumptions.
right,
So I
right.
think it's very, very important, like you said, really to be that kind of person. Like speaking like doing good deeds and like the brand. Right? I remember I was going out to I was working at this gym, doing sales, and I was at CVS one time, and this I was wearing my slacks and a shirt, looking, presentable and stuff, and this little old lady comes up and she says, do you have cell phones? So I was a little bit confused, but I pulled out my cell phone and I handed it to her. And she was like, "Oh no, I don't need to use it. I just needed. I don't know if you sold them here." I was like, "Oh, I don't work here." She was like, "You're just gonna give me your phone to use?" I was like, "Yeah." She says, "You know what? Your mother raised you right." And I was like, "Wow," you know what I mean? Like all the things about the brand, you know what I mean? And seeing that who you are and just holding that, and that meant, so much to me. And just knowing again that I'm just really living my purpose and being a kind and caring person, and just catching people off guard with this kindness, you know?
And I think it goes a long way, right? You do it because almost selfishly because it makes you feel good, right? The random
Right.
act of kindness. And I've never talked about this. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share this. One of the two things I used to do. I had a friend who had a hair salon. My friend Yolanda. And Yolanda had this hair salon. She was a high school friend of mine, childhood friend of mine. To this day, we're still cool. This had to be almost maybe 20 years ago. And I would like drive around sometimes. It's like chilling on the weekend. And I would go to the store and grab like 20 blow pops, right? And I would go to the hair salon to visit her, and I would give everyone that was doing hair in the hair salon a blow pop or some candy, and I would give it to the people that were getting their hair done. I'm sitting there just talking, and I saw like years later, people were like, "Aren't you Yolanda's friend? Used to come in and give the blow." That was so. But they saw how you treated people, how you made people feel, how people lit up, and even to this day, she'll tell you, "Oh man, some of the best days when we used to come and just have a conversation. You would drop off a blow pop or drop us. I would go out and get carnations sometimes, even when I was working in corporate America, and just give them to people, in the office. Like, oh, here's a carnation. Here's a carnation to the ladies. Like, just because it's gonna make them smile. It makes the day go by faster. It makes that week feel like you're walking on air, right? But it's just a simple gesture, just to say, hey, I see you. I
Hmm.
appreciate you. Like, I love you. I want to see you do well. I want to see you continue to smile, right? So if
Absolutely.
you ever have the opportunity to make anybody feel good or make them feel loved, make them feel like they have purpose, just do a random act of kindness. It could be a text message, bro. It could be a text message. It could be a phone call. It could be a letter. It could just go to CVS and get a little 20 pack of thank you cards or I'm thinking about you cards, right? And just write it a quick note and send it to them. It makes all the difference in the world. Shout out to my man Amadeus.
No, absolutely. And I really that wholeheartedly, and it's so ingrained in the person that I am now, just being kind of trying to uplift people. So I'm I work now, back in corporate America a little bit, and all my coworkers, everything's right now is via Zoom meeting and all that stuff. So I haven't really met any of them face to face just yet. And one of my coworkers, she's just struggling because it's new, whole new to her. And she was like, "Oh, I don't." She messaged me, and so I was like, "I don't want to look like a crazy black lady and all these things," and kind of really, kind of, beating herself up a little bit. And I just shared her some word of encouragement, just like, "Hey, God do what's best for you, and don't be ashamed of asking questions, all these things, and really just again, because I want you to succeed. I want you to be,
Right.
successful in this avenue." Um, and then she hit me, which like it made me feel so good. But she was like, "Man, your kids are so lucky to have you." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, if that's how you talk to a coworker, somebody you barely even know, I can't imagine what you're pouring into your kids." And I was like, "Wow," you know what I mean? Like it just it really touched me and just made me feel so good. And it's like, I gotta keep being this person I am. Like I love who I am as a person. It just made me
But
again.
that's important. That's important. A lot of people, my sister Dorothy's on here, my brother Amadeus is on here. These two individuals, I have to tell you, they love who they are unapologetically. And that lights me up inside. And it allows me to say, man, shoot, I'm that. I want to be that too. There's never a day that Amadeus is not big and letting people know, like I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm a beautiful human being. Same thing with Dorothy, and she instills that in well, one of her daughters that I met. Her daughter lights up, like you can see it in her eyes how dope she is. Um, Quiet Fire's on here, my sister. She is another human being, and I just want to shout them out because this is part of my village.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
And Quiet Fire, you know who you are. She is unapologetically dope as well. A woman who is doing her thing. And when you see those things, you know, I said it earlier, if you have that winner circle around you, you have that village around you, how can you not be great? How can you not
Mm-hmm.
want to be great? How can you not want to give back? How can you not want to love people? How can you not want to tell people that you love them? Right? It's super important. And as men, we have to do that now more than ever because guess what?
Yes.
Our young black boys are being killed. Our young black boys are killing themselves. Our young black boys are confused. So if they don't
Mm-hmm.
see the Jay-Z's in their own community, looking at Jay-Z on television is going to do them absolutely no good. They
Mm-hmm.
need to see men who look like them in their communities with a belt around their waist, their pants around their waist, a shirt and tie when it's appropriate, and speaking to women like we got some kind of sense. It's
Absolutely.
important to treat them like the queens they are, to treat them like the backbone and the pillars of our communities that they have been from the beginning of time. So we need our young people, especially our young men, our men of color, to walk in their dopeness. But how are they going to do that? We have to be that example, right? We have to show them. Those of us who have children or young black boys, we have to show them because now we're going to lose them. We're losing them to the streets. We're losing to
Absolutely.
certain genres of music because we're not telling them that you got to separate the entertainment from real life, right? You got to separate what you've seen on television with real life. Some of these things, it's entertainment. That's all it is. But
Mm-hmm.
if we're not there in these households, if we're not there as an uncle, and we're not there as a friend or a mentor, then what are we really doing? Because we're gonna keep losing these young boys. We can't afford to lose these young boys because we need more doctors, we need more lawyers, we need more black and brown teachers in our school system because that's where it starts. Because we need these young kids, especially these boys, to see black and brown faces in their classrooms. Why is that important? Let me tell you why. When you look at a subset of kids, right, in school, and there's no disrespect to our white counterparts. There's no, I have white friends that I love. I grew up with it, my peoples. But when you have predominantly white administrators and teachers in a school and they see 5 or 6 black and brown boys over in the corner, and it sounds like they're squabbling, the first reaction is, you guys go to the principal's office, break it up. But let me tell you the difference. A teacher of color walks over there, and guess what his response is? His response is, what are y'all talking about over here? Why are y'all trying to compare LeBron James to Kobe Bryant and Kobe Bryant to Michael Jordan? Y'all are crazy. Listen, why don't we wait till lunchtime and we're going to talk about this, we can hammer it out, and we're going to discuss this whole thing. Because guess what? They weren't arguing. They're
Right.
doing what young black and brown boys do. They playing the dozens, or they like, nah, man, this guy's better. Oh, you see how he dunked on him. But all this movement looked like they trying to get in. They're trying to get some. They're not, they just talking because they're talking with their hands. But an educator that looks like them, that understands the culture, could go over there and say, all right, Amadeus, all right, June, all right, Dorothy, break it up. We're not going to talk about the Grammys and what happened on the Grammys last night and who had the best performance. We're going to talk about that at research, and we're going to talk about that at lunch. Matter of fact, when you come to my class, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. We're gonna hash that out because I'm gonna tell you, ain't nobody better than Earth, Wind, and Fire. Ain't nobody better than Luther, right? Because now that
Right. Right.
educator is coming from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they like Cardi B and all these, oh, well, I like Cardi B. Well, tell me why y'all like her. Tell me what's the difference between her and Nicki Minaj. You can have that conversation, but an educator that doesn't look like them, that is not familiar with the culture, is going to look at it differently. So now
Mm-hmm.
everybody got to go to the principals so we can figure out what was going on. There was nothing going on. They all love music, so give them a platform to discuss it. Why don't you create a podcast so they can have their own podcast? So they can have a debate on who had the better performance on the BET Awards or who did best in the NBA Finals. Why can't we do that? But we can't do that if one, the white counterparts or those teachers that are not of color, if they don't embrace the culture, then we need teachers and educators and administrators that look like them to understand when they're having these conversations, when they're having these problems, if they're going through mental health situations that they understand it, because the life of someone living in the suburbs is different than someone living in in the hood or in the projects. So you don't know that they're not. They come into school and they're already hungry. They didn't even eat last night. They didn't eat breakfast this morning. So
Right,
yeah, that's why
right.
they're sleeping in class. It's not that they're uninterested. It's not that they're not smart, man. But I had to take care of my little sister.
Hmm.
I had to take care of my little brother. I had to take care of my mom. I had to go find my mom because I had to come to school and I'm tired, man. I had to work this job and I'm trying to play the sport. I'm trying to be nice with the drums. And me and my boys got a band. Or I'm rap. I was in the studio. That's why I'm tired. It's not because I'm not interested in school. It's not that I don't want to do well. But
Right.
if you don't have the opportunity to pour into them, to think about the mental health piece, man, we're gonna lose these baby. We're gonna lose these young people. Cause trust me, they want to go get it, but they need the GPS system that we have in us, right? So what does that mean? When you provide a GPS system for our young people, you're giving them exactly what Waze and GPS does. You're showing them the way to get through an obstacle, get around a roadblock, beat through the traffic, take a turn here, take a turn there, how to get there on time, how to get there in less time. But if we don't give it to them, they're in a place where their mental health is in jeopardy. But if we become these GPS systems and we become the lighthouse, then they can navigate the waters. They could navigate the storm because we've been there before. But a lot of us are so tied up that we don't want to be transparent. We don't want to
Hmm.
tell them that we failed. We want to give them the highlight reel on social media. And it's not always about that. If you're going to give the highlight reel, give everything that led up to that highlight reel. Man, this is what I
Absolutely.
had to go through. This is what I had to endure. This is what I've been through in terms of my friends. This is what I've been through in terms of my family, because it ain't always sweet. But give them the steps so they can say, man, I'm going through the same thing. I saw what this person did, right? I'm going to put my man Amadeus out there. He's been through so much. He's been on top, but he comes from the Bronx where, he wasn't supposed to make it out. He's a child of the church, right? So he's not even supposed to do secular music. He's gone on to all the stages all across the country. He's been, I don't even know how many countries. And he just dropped a book. Why is that important? Because he felt at one time he wasn't going to make it. He didn't have that support system, right? But he knew that he was going to be great. But he was given an opportunity. But he know who he is and he knows whose he is, and that's important. That's super important. But if we don't give him the opportunity, the platform, then he wouldn't become a drummer, and he wouldn't be drumming with Trey Songz, and he wouldn't be producing music. But I can't even name the amount of people he's produced for: Talib Kweli, Fabulous, Jim Jones, Chris Brown, right? If you don't show them the way, and for our little black and brown girls, my
Hmm.
sister, I'm just gonna call her Quiet Fire, right? Um, she has been on tour with so many people. She has traveled the world. If you don't allow our young black and brown girls to know how great they are, to walk in their black and brown girl magic, to let them know that they have equality in what they're doing, that we need them at the table. We need them at the head of the table. We need them to not only sit at the table, but to bring other black and brown girls, to let them travel the country, to let them be presidents and vice presidents of these organizations and companies, because we need them. They are nurturers, but they are leaders as well.
Hmm.
And when I see my sister, and she's been on tour with just about anybody you can imagine, from new school artists to old school artists, and to see her make her magic happen, it warms my heart because I have a daughter and I want her to see these same images. So I want to bring her around women who are doing amazing, great things. When I do my interviews, I always like to, hey, can you shout my son and my daughter out? Because I want them to see, because they see you on television, they hear your music. I need you to give them a message, a word of encouragement, because I want them to know, yeah, you may be at this status, right? You may be the celebrity, but you're a real person of giving them real gems, giving them real advice, and they can see, man, wow, this person, my dad's talking to this person, so they got to be somebody, because he wouldn't just allow
Yeah.
anybody to drop some words on us. But they could see how they're making their magic happen and changing the world around them while they're walking in the world. That's amazing. When I see Quiet Fire in her element, man, it's amazing. When I see Dorothy in her element, amazing. When I see Amadeus on that stage drumming, amazing. And it allows me to continue to be great because these are my friends and they want to see me do well, but I want to do well too because I want them to be proud of me just as much as I'm proud of
Hmm.
them. Right. So if this thing is cyclical and 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 you just it's invested in you that man, they're doing good, I gotta do good.
Right.
I'm doing good, they gotta do good. And you continue to build each other up, right? Um, shoot. I want to shout out Kenny Green and Makita. Um, two individuals, husband and wife, that are doing amazing things. So that allows me to say, man, I want my wife and I to continue to do great things. We're in our communities, sleeves up, hands and knees, getting it in, being as transparent as we can, touching people and healing people by just our presence and giving and philanthropy. Like if you don't do that, how do you make your community better? Right now, we're going through a lot. We're going
Absolutely.
through a lot mentally. People are breaking up. People are getting a divorce. They're separating. Why? People are losing friendships over politics, over money. We got to do better than that. We got to do better than that. You got to surround yourself with not just like-minded people, but people that have the same beliefs, the same foundation that you do. And when you do that, what kind of community do you have after that?
I mean, it's just so diverse, it's so huge, and that's like I said, why I sit down and talk to so many people and all these different backgrounds because, like I said too, man, it's impossible for one person to go through every single experience in life. This is never gonna happen, But if you surround yourself with people and leave yourself, an open mind to understand where they're coming from and really want to learn and listen, you will better yourself as an individual because now you have more perspective. You have a news perspective. You have something else
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like, help expand your mind to things that you never thought possible. I know it's going back to myself growing up, right? When I was young, I lived in the hood too and in the ghetto. And I had one of my friends, he was a white kid, lived up in North Stanford, up in the suburbs. And I would go to his house. And I remember going to his house for the first time and having dinner and how they all sat down at the table and they all had parts set at the table and pouring a glass of milk. And the dad just sitting there like, how was your day? What did you do today? And he involved me into that conversation. And I was just like, this happens? Like I didn't like what I mean? Like I would just get my
Y'all
plate,
talk
go to
at the
my
dinner
room, and
table?
yeah, and just close the door. Like I'm like, what? So it was just sharing that, and that's something that now that as I'm older and like you said, having a good part, like with my wife, which is she's an amazing counterpart with me. You know what I mean? Like we have the beauty. What I love about it is that we have a lot in common, but we're also so different. We're just like at opposite ends of things. So we kind of give our kids a wide, a very large spectrum of how to look at things and circumstances and stuff. But we have those things together. We sit down at the table. We ask them what's going on. How was your day? Talk to me. Like we're gonna sit here and converse and really build that relationship and understand and help you grow. And it's because I've associated with different people from different walks of life and different understandings to understand, what I wanted to do and how I'm going to help and grow and develop my kids and how I'm going to train them and teach him how to be loving. And to go back, like you said, with Amadeus and Choir and all them, like being so sure and loving and speaking to them. Like for me, I've been through that. I've been through a lot of depression. I've overcame my depression a couple years ago and trying to continue to work on out my mental health and anxiety and stuff because I've attempted suicide a couple times. I mean, because of the stress and just feeling like overwhelmed and that I didn't have any value in this world. And a big part of that was because I never allowed myself or others to talk good about me because I felt it was being
Mm.
conceited. And I felt like I was being, too big for my britches and just, a big shot. And I had so much trouble disconnecting arrogance and confidence. I didn't understand that they were really two separate entities. But as I started to grow and, like you said, asking myself these questions and understanding who I am and what are your, like the people in the world here, if somebody's not made the decision not to like you, doesn't matter what you do, what you say, or whatever, they made it, they're not gonna like you. So you could walk around with confidence, they're like, oh, he arrogant as hell. You know what I mean? Like you over there, you give some good deed, he just trying to come up and and get some attention. You know what I mean? No matter what you do, they're gonna
You
talk
can't
smack.
you can't pay no attention to them, right? Here's
Right.
the thing. Here's the thing. It's a young lady that I love, Naya Zuri. Um,
I grew up with her.
she, yeah, Anna Naya Kana.
Yeah, yeah.
When I tell you, her spirit is exactly the spirit that I had growing up. And to see the world um, that may want to tear you down or not want to see you win in her spirit is something that I try to instill in people. Like, don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about what they say about you, right? It's not important because you're not doing it for them. If
Mhm.
if if the Most High gave you something to do, you do it. Whether you fail or succeed or not is not the thing that's in question. Um, but her spirit, Anna's spirit, um, renewed something in me as well, right? Because when you see that people take your advice and you're like, man, I gave you this gem, but man, you're teaching me something through your behavior. It allows you to to rewire yourself sometimes. Because as we get older, we become cynical. As we get older, we become more fearful, right? As we get older, we become more adherent to what people think and what people say. Yeah, we can't do that no more. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that no more. Because guess what? The assignment wasn't for you. The
Right.
assignment wasn't given to you. It was given to me. And I don't care what you say about me. If you really have a negative thing to say about me, it means you don't know me. You
Hmm.
talk to anybody that knows me. They say, well, oh, you say he did something to you, like he did something wrong to you. So what did you do? You had to do something because I don't know June to have a mean bone in his body.
Right.
Not to say that I can't get it in,
Yeah.
but
I think we all
but
got
you have.
things.
I don't. I probably have a couple of enemies, and that's cool. That's great. But don't worry about what anybody's got to say. London, I see you, brother. I see
Listen,
you, and I
man.
appreciate you. Desiree, I see you. I love you.
As you said that, man, it brought me back to one of my favorite quotes that I came across a couple of years ago, and it goes, "When you're in your 20s, you worry that everybody's talking about you. When you're in your
Hmm.
40s, you stop caring. When you reach 60, you realize nobody was talking about you in the first place."
I realized that way before 50.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and that's what I seen. I was like, you know what? You got to do that because if you sit and dwell on those things, the only person that's suffering is you. That person that moved on to their next victim or honest about their life or whatever they're going to do about it, completely forgotten about you while you're sitting here
Hmm.
living in your self pity. You can't take that to heart. The people who matter are going to be there for you and support you and care for you and love you, and that's all you need to worry about. You can't please and you won't please everybody. You know what I mean? So
Nah,
the quicker you become comfortable with that, your life will be so much easier, and reduce your stress tremendously. Because you're not worrying about any of those things. So that's something that again I came across, and that just really made me think. And I was like, you know what? I just got to be comfortable who I am in my own skin. I got the people that matter to me. I got my family, my wife, my son, my daughter. And like you said that too. Like my daughter is I start to realize now how much of a sponge your kids are and everything that you do
hmm.
and how you watch and all these things because perfect example, she anywhere we go, my daughter is a huge people person. She'll talk to anybody, any place, anywhere, give everybody a hug and all those things. So she'll go out, she'll be like, "Hi, yeah, this is my dad. That's Freddie Fox. He has a show when he talks to people and he makes T-shirts and he sells them. So like, she's my biggest
She's
promoter.
watching.
You know what I
She's
mean?
watching.
No, what really caught me, right? I was sitting here one night and I was, doing some editing to one of my podcasts or whatever. My theme song is playing. And then right on cue, right behind my head, I just hear is, "What's up, everybody? It's your boy Fat Freddie Fox." I'm like, hold up. Like, wait a minute. Like,
She's right on point
on
on the
cue.
one.
You're
She's
on
ready to go
cue.
on the one.
And it's just like even more special because like it gives me, again, like you see, somebody's watching. I don't care about
Yeah.
that, but the most person is watching. I need to make sure that I lead by a good example. I teach her the right path and how to do these things because she wants to do this. You know what I mean? She's 6 years old. And then I pull out a camera, she's like, trying to do like little videos and droplets and all this stuff, and she's growing up with these things. And it brings me so much joy to see, that I'm doing those things. And like a couple episodes ago, she was listening to this song right on the and by my boy Jaleel called "Drift Away." That was a jam, so we was listening to that every single day or whatever. And I was, I'm gonna have him on my show, and I brought her down to the studio, and she got to meet him and got to, and it was just a life changing experience. So now she'll be listening to songs and all these things on the radio. She was like, "Oh, Dad, I like that. Dad, are you gonna meet him? When is he gonna be on your show?" And it just gives me motivation. Like, you know what? I can go out. Let me reach out to this person. Let me make this happen. Let me do these things because I wanted to show her that it's possible. I need to lead by example. One of the things too, a couple years ago, I When I got out of high school, I started college 2 weeks after I started high school. Huge mistake, I think. I wasn't ready mentally.
Mm,
I ended up making a lot of mistakes. I dropped out. I tried to re-enroll a couple years later. I did the same thing. I dropped out again because I still wasn't mentally prepared. But when I had my daughter, I was like, I need to show her that this is possible. And I learned that from my mom because when my mom got here, she didn't graduate high school, and for some reason, I don't know what it was. Like she was going to school and I don't know if it was my dad didn't want you or whatever, but my mom would have to bring me to the school, to night school with her so she can go to class. And one night she brought me there and she was in tears crying and the janitor saw her and he was like, what's going on? Like what happened? And she explained to him and she's like, listen, go to your class. Whenever you go to class, I'll be right here. You go to class, I'll watch a kid while you're in class for you. He can stay with
mm,
me. I'll take care of him. And he used to walk through the gym, go to play basketball. He got me snacks from the thing. And the janitor, he didn't have to do that. But every day when my mom went to school, he was waiting for her at the front of the building. She would hand me off. She would go to her class and do her thing. And the funny thing is that his name was Freddie too. And I never forget
wow.
that man. I never forget that man. You know what I mean? I seen him a couple years ago, and I wish I could find him again because he did that for my mom so she could succeed. And I got to see my mom go to night school and become successful. So I know how to turn to go to night school. So I'm going to night school and trying to get my degree because I wanted to, if my daughter wants to or not to go to college, any of my kids, but I just wanted to show them that it was possible. That if they
Right.
could see their dad do it, I can do it too if I want. It's not impossible. You know what I mean? So I wanted to set that lesson. And also I remember too seeing one time I was going there and I seen his mom and her two sons were sitting outside the classroom on their video games and stuff like that. And she was talking to them and I stopped. I said, listen, the example you set for your kids right now is incredible. I just want you to know that this is going to leave a huge impact on them on what they can do, and this is so good for them to see. As a matter of fact, would you mind if I took them to the vending machine to get them some snacks so they could hold them off for here, or whatever? Because that was done
Wow.
for me. And she looked at me, and you can tell, she was satisfied because it's hard. It's hard, And I can imagine a mother with two kids trying to go to school, trying to do better for them, and seeing that and worry because as a parent, you always worry if what you're doing is right. You're always scared that you might be doing the wrong thing and stuff. But I wanted to reassure her that this is a powerful message that you're sending to your sons right now, that they will live for them for years to come because that was me years ago. And this is where I am now.
No,
You
that's
know,
dope. Man. That's really dope. Shout out to my man Herbert. I ain't seen him in a minute. My man Kev G. Um, two other amazing men that have blessed my path that I've had the opportunity to cross paths with. Man, it's just two other men who one uh, are doing great things as fathers and in their communities. Just man, this is Freddie. Man, this is dope, man. This is really dope.
yeah, man,
This
that's
is
what I
really
love.
dope.
And like
Really
you said,
appreciate it.
the whole mental health thing is I started another show a couple weeks ago that I'm going on and on. It's called Fab with Fab, and it's
Mhm.
for face fears and build bonds. And the whole concept of that is really to get people to get together and discuss their emotions, especially with us guys, right? Because growing up, and I'm sure you know that too. You can't show an emotion. Don't you dare cry. Don't talk about your feelings. Don't get emotional. Don't. And that's so toxic. We leave with all these things inside and all this self doubt and have nowhere to express ourselves, and being able to open up I did a couple episodes a couple weeks ago. One of my friends, his daughter passed away. Right, she went full term, and I guess it was some sort of situation where how your intestines are on the outside and supposed to go in as going through pregnancy, but that didn't happen for her, so she passed away, and he didn't really have anybody to talk to, or express his feelings and no sadness. And again, he couldn't be sad because he had to be strong for the mom and his girl and all those things and not being it. So he was able to open up on our show. And the other guys that I had there didn't even realize, but they started opening up too. Like they had miscarriages in their lives and how that affected them and impacted them too. And that's the whole point because like you said, the whole mental health thing is huge. We need to make it more visible. We need to talk about it more and give us men an avenue to be able to express ourselves freely and get the comfort and build the bonds that we need, with other individuals that have been through certain situations that we have been through, and so that we don't feel so alone. Because every time we go through, we always feel alone, like it's always us, like we're the only person going through it because we can't talk about it with anybody else. We're not allowed to.
Right. At least we feel like we can, right?
Right,
But
right.
once again, it's who you surround yourself with. It's important, man. Like it's. I said it the other day. I think I was talking to Kel Mitchell, and I was talking
I
to.
love him, man.
He's been a good friend for many years, and Chris D. Lofton, who's on Power. We talked about how we have to start sharing conversations around mental health with our men of color, right?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, when you talk about miscarriages or stillborns, it weighs heavily on the woman, as it should.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind that this man also was a part of the process of
Right.
creating that child, and he's hurting as well. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, you're like, man, I got to man up. I got to be there for my wife. But then who's there for that man? And
Exactly.
I realized that when I went through that, right?
Wow.
I have a brother that's on here, Keith Clater. He has had challenges with his son, my nephew, right? And he's a man of integrity. He's a man that works hard at his craft as a photographer. He's a great husband. He is a great friend. He's a great brother. But there are times when he and I talk because I know what he's going through. Actually, I don't know what he's going through, right? Because we all have our own challenges. But when we're able to talk to each other and say, bro, this is what I'm going through, man. I just needed to talk. I needed to get it out. Because there's certain things
Yes.
that you could say to your brother that you may not be able to say to your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because as much as it may hurt, or as much as you may want to express something that may hurt their feelings, you have to get it out. So you
Yes.
need that brother, you need that friend. And if you don't have that friend, then therapy might be the option. But when he and I talk, when my friend Keith and I talk, we share stories. We laugh at the end, like, man, you're doing a great thing. This is going to make a difference in your child's life. This is going to make a difference in my children's life. I encourage you to keep going. He encourages me to keep going. We laugh at the end of the day. When you have that and you say, man, I'm not, we may have similar stories, we may not, but at least I know I'm not the only one going through it. I
Yeah.
know I can keep going because I know I could unpack some of this stuff on you. You understand what the struggle is just from having your own thing. But men, we have to. It's imperative. Start talking to one another. Start telling each other that we love each other.
Mm-hmm.
We are our own worst enemy because we feel like we can't, and pride and ego is going to be the death of us if we don't share our stories to understand that, man, I was in that dark place. I wanted to jump. I wanted to pull the trigger. I wanted to leave. I wanted to walk out, right? So that when you have these conversations, it's not so foreign,
Yes.
right? You could say, man, you got it. Me and Omari Hardwick, we have a great relationship based on that from losing children and a strain in the relationship. We developed a bond over that allowed our bond with our spouses to be stronger. But if you don't talk about those things, you feel like, man, I can't tell Freddie that I was depressed. I can't tell Keith that I was, think about stepping out on my wife. I can't say that I made a baby. I can't tell Freddie that he gonna look at me, right? I can't tell him I ain't got no money. Well, then who can you tell? If that's your man, 40 grand, right? If that's your
Mm-hmm.
guy, and back in the day, y'all used to go out, y'all used to try to chase girls, y'all used to drink, y'all used to smoke together. There's nothing more intimate if you smoke weed and you roll a blunt and you smoking it behind each other. It don't get no more intimate than that. So, but you can't tell them that, man, I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling away. Then that's not the person you need to keep company with. That's just an associate. That's
Right.
not a friend.
Right.
That's not a brother. And we have to, just for our own mental health and mental fitness, find those people that you can speak with. Because if you don't, we're gonna be out here in a boat with no paddle.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely,
it's
man.
not healthy. It's not healthy at all. It's not healthy at all.
No, it definitely is not. And like I said, I'm having that at the show, and I'm trying to grow that more and more. As we were ending our here, I don't want to keep you too long and everything. So again, thank you so much for being here with me and answering these questions, sharing these. I got two last things that I want to ask you before I let you go. So out of everything you've been through, again, being in music, TV, writing a book, motivational speaking, all this stuff, and all these experiences you went through your life. What do you feel has been the best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's hard because I'm a people person, so I take from everybody, young, old, doesn't matter. If I were to say the best piece of advice I've gotten, it's probably from my parents. Learn to live good with people. That would be the one that resonates the most. I'll share a few. One the other day I got from Jay Holiday. I asked him, what's the best piece of advice he's been given, and he said, everybody can't go, right? I've asked my cousin Gordon Chambers, who's an amazing writer and producer. You know, people are going through stuff. I asked him, like, what's the best piece of advice you can give people? He said, our ancestors have been through worse. We're going to be all right. So I take from so many people and I try to pay that forward and share that. And it becomes a fiber of myself. And it allows me to look at the glass half full instead of half empty. So it's not just one. It's, like I said, traveling this earth and speaking to as many people as you can to get as much great information and feeding yourself, your mind, and your body positive things and positive uh, conversations and positive interactions.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, man, and I know it's gonna happen for me soon. I'm gonna be on that platform and be able to go around and talk to many people and stuff. So
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
keeping grinding,
I
keeping
see it.
going.
I
Um,
see it, Freddie. I see it. I keep doing what you're doing. Remember, I told you that.
yeah, yeah,
Don't let nobody tell you nothing different.
yeah, and like you said, like keeping me in 40 grand, like like I said, my brother Mish, man, I shot him out too, man. My brother Mish, who's been there, my whole life, man. I mean, and my whole life he's been by my side. And I was talking about it earlier today, and I was telling him too, I was like, yo, listen, I'm so excited about this interview tonight with June. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how I'm starting to grow. And he said, bro, he said, Fana, listen, I give you 9 months, 9 months to a year, bro, and you're gonna be everywhere. Just keep grinding. You know what I mean? Just keep doing your thing. So
Well, Miss, I love you, Miss. Tell Miss I love him. Be not on air. Miss, I
I,
love you. Keep pouring
absolutely.
into Freddie. I mean, we need more of that. So
Absolutely, man. And so lastly, like you said, everybody else is giving you advice and doing this, like I said, for the next generation, these kids coming up and trying to find themselves in this world. What is a piece of advice you would offer them?
I want to offer young and old, know who you are and whose you are, but find the opportunity to walk in your dopeness, in your authentic self, and be the light that you need to be to shine, but also the light that others need to see as an example of what it means to be walking in your greatness.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. Beautifully said, June. Thank you so much, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure to sit down with you and talk to you, man. I look forward to doing this again sometime in the future.
Whenever you're ready, just call me. I'm there for you, brother. I
Absolutely, man.
love you. I love you. I love what you're doing. My love to your beautiful bride and your children and your family during these times. And I hope to see you in the flesh, in person, so I could hug you, brother, put my arms around you, and tell you I love you. So I appreciate you sharing your platform with me tonight. It means a lot.
Well, thank you so much, and we definitely gonna make that happen. We'll definitely be in touch, man. As I tell everybody out there, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your big brother loves you. Stay blessed, everybody.